see, I tried to edit as little as I could. This is a sped up portion. I wanted you guys to see that I wait for her to be completely calm before I'll even walk up to her kennel. So this is a sped up version, but pretty much she likes to whine and paw and get really excited to come out, which I'm happy that she's enjoying training and wants to, go do it, but I also want her to be calm in the house, and I'm sure you guys do too. So as soon as she's calm, then I'll kind of start opening the door. She's expected to wait until I release her. So the open kennel does not mean go out. When she gives me that, I send her to place. Which she missed at first, but to be fair, the robot vacuum's there. I don't know if it freaked her out or anything. I don't think it did, but it is a new obstacle. I paused it, of course, before I brought her out. Again, I wait for her to be calm before I put on my slip collar. So the reason I'm using a slip collar with her, when I previously discussed that she's not very sensitive, and that's why I had put her on that small prong, is because we are going to be using some of our e-collar today. Her e-collar is on her. We spent some time just having her get used to wearing it. Here we're doing some door manners. But now we are past that, beginning conditioning phase, and I can now start adding it into behaviors. So she's doing really good. So this session, we're mostly working on the heel. I'm adding in a little bit of sit, but we're mainly working on that heel position. You can see in the beginning here, she's very clueless as to what side. So I'm using a combination of directional pressure with my leash onto that slip collar, as well as with some pressure from my e-collar that's not as directional. And the reason I have her on the slip collar is when I take her out to potty, I let her kind of run around in the yard. I want her to, keep up with her exercise and muscle tone and things. And I can just unclip my leash as well and let her kind of run around without taking off that slip collar. Also, the prong can work as an activator, and what that means is the prong can actually excite the dog, and she has plenty of excitement, as you can see, and so I'm not trying to create more energy into the behavior. I want her to actually be chiller, so that slip collar can actually act as a bit of a damper and kind of chill the dog out just a smidge when it comes to these behaviors. And she, you can see she's a lot more relaxed versus that other video you guys have seen of her. And so she, we're really not having to build her up too much. She's taking food really well. She's really tuned into me, as you can see. We're working a lot of her foraging habits. Foraging just means she's walking out in front of me. So that's one thing that I really wanted to highlight on this session. And you may see a few jump cuts. I tried to not edit this as much as I can, but I have a little robot thing that controls my camera. That's how it follows me around, and sometimes it just gets stuck on stuff like chairs and things. So if you see jump cuts, that's because I removed many seconds of staring at a chair or something like that. Mostly I'm just trying to reward her as much as I can. So there I'm using some e-collar to help her out. The e-collar is still really new to her, so I'm working on the lowest level possible. So I'm working on the lowest level this e-collar is capable of creating. And it's not an adversive level. As you can see, when I'm touching it, you might, if you're really tuned into her body language, you might be able just to barely see. She kind of goes, oh crap, I'm doing the wrong thing here. But she's, it's definitely not a punishment level by far. We're definitely way, way below any sort of punishment level. I'm really just using it as I'm kind of envisioning the heel position right by my leg there is the safe zone, and when she starts getting out of that, whether it's behind or in front of me, then she starts to feel that stim, and it should feel, if you've ever had a TENS unit at a physical therapist or anything, it feels a lot like that. It's just a muscle twitch, so it's not painful at all. It's just a funny feeling. I'm also sprinkling in some jackpots here, so I'm not doing too many of those, but typically you hear me going good, good, good. That's my continuation marker. It means keep doing what you're doing the right thing. You're hearing it a lot because we're at the beginning stages of these behaviors, and I want them to be very rewarding. I want her to enjoy doing it. But when you hear me say yes, like I did right here, that's where it's, you know, break the position and come get your reward. And I usually make it a little extra special. It's more of a handful of food instead of just a couple pieces. She gets pets and lovings, and it's also a great practice for her to chill out. Like you see there, we came off of that yes, and she instantly started bouncing and being really like excited. I need her to learn at this point that there's times you can be excited. You know, I'm not saying you can't be excited, but when it's work mode or we're in the house, you need to be calm, and you're not going to get anything out of being overexcited. So I usually will just ignore her when she's doing stuff like whining, pawing, jumping, anything that I consider to be an obnoxious behavior. And you'll notice I have my leash behind my legs now. So she's been foraging quite a bit, and I want to really check her on that. We're also working my left hand turns into her. That leash being behind my legs physically tells me as well as stops her from being able to forage, and it helps building up her muscle memory of where she's supposed to be, as well as it helps me feel where she's at without having to stare down at her, because the dogs will pick up that when you stand a certain way, that means heel. That is like very easy to teach a dog. Most people will teach their dog with hand signals. Like you'll know, like people holding the cookie in front of the dog and saying sit. The dog is actually cueing off of the hand with the cookie over the word sit. Dogs are visual communicators, so body language makes a lot of difference here. And again, we've talked about in the previous video, you know, dogs are picture thinkers too, so healing in my backyard is going to be pretty different than when we go out and start healing around on my neighborhood street, healing around at the park, stuff like that. So, you know, there's a lot of exposure to do, and part of the training is training the dog how to adapt to new environments. So you don't have to show your dog every single thing on earth, but you can teach them how to be kind of flexible in their environments. But she's doing really good. Again, you can see we're working a little bit on some of those turns, getting her hind end to be a little looser, letting her kind of move around better. But she's doing really good, and I think especially this session in particular, I really felt like she started to go, this is a fun experience I enjoy, and I totally understand, you know, kind of the language as far as good and yes and no, and how to release pressure and things like that, because I'm not teaching her, you know, do this or you're gonna get whatever, you know, you're gonna get Ecollar stim, whatever. I'm not teaching her that. I'm teaching her that she can control me. So if she wants food, putting herself in the heel position will make me give her food. She's actually training me to give her what she wants, but she's doing it through the certain behaviors that I like. So it's a little bit of kind of mental manipulation on my part here. But she's doing great. She's doing amazing. We're going to continue working on the heel, and then we're going to start working on some more sit stays, and of course still working our place stays and things like that. But sit stays are definitely high up on the list as far as next things go. And as we progress, I will put out some more videos and keep you guys updated. But I'm really happy overall with where she's at right now.
Good. Yes, good job.